How's it going? So today we're going to be creating this animation right here. What's cool about it is you can really use any logo, any text, anything. It's really cool. It's a very simple concept to achieve. So the first step is to get a black and white image of whatever it is you want, whatever image, text, logo you want. Find a way to get it on a black and white image, with whatever program you have access to. Photoshop, GIMP, all those fun ones. So for me, I'm using this Nike logo. You can go ahead and use text. Again, anything. You can even, in Blender, do the same thing. Just in Eevee, just get some text, white text with emissive material on it. And then render that out and you have a black and white image. So make sure you have a black and white image to start with. With that being said, let's hop into Blender and let's set that up. So what I'm going to do is get in a cube here. And then what we're going to do is just go ahead. I'm going to go to the face select in edit mode, X, and delete that face. And then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of squeeze him in like this, scale it up, squeeze it down, Control A, and apply that scale. So now we have the bounding box that all of our objects are going to fall inside of, and it's really cool. What we're going to do now, I'm actually going to go ahead and stretch it to look more like, about the size of a computer screen. Control A and apply that scale. All right, so now we have this. What we're going to do now is go ahead and get in a UV sphere. Sometimes even icospheres work better. In fact, I do believe icospheres work better. All right, so we're going to give it a subdivision of, we'll do 3. We do want to keep it as light as possible. The more subdivisions, the heavier that simulation is going to be. I'm going to hit S and scale it down to right about the size that I want my objects to be. Control A and apply that scale. And then I'm going to shade smooth and we'll bring it up. So click on this object. Go here to the physics tab and type in, click collision. And click rigid body. Go to active to passive. And right here on shape, go ahead and pick mesh. On this guy, do rigid body. Keep it on active and use convex hull. All right, so now we have our object and it works. There's a little gravity there. Now that we have that, what we can do is just go ahead and start duplicating our object. So I'm hitting Shift D and doing that. And then, just go ahead and position them. I'm hitting tilde key and go to the top, Shift D, and go ahead and duplicate all of your objects down the line. And then we're going to do a second layer. So once we finish up here, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and get a second layer here. So that second layer, just highlight, hit Shift D, and bring it up. That's our layer number 2. I'm going to highlight all of these guys. I'm going to hit R. And what this does is just allow them to fall and be a little bit more organic, because if you just let it fall while they're flat, you'll still be able to kind of make out that there's lines and grids. This allows a little bit more randomization. So I'm going to hit play. And it's a little laggy, and that is to be expected, and that's totally okay. All right, so now they're just simulating. I'm just letting them simulate. You could bake it out first if you'd like to. All right, so that looks really, really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F3 and type in bake to keyframes. That's going to bake everything. Looks like we're at 85, so I'm going to bake out 100 frames and I'm hit OK. And then I just have to let it bake. The problem is I don't see a status bar when I use this bake to keyframe. So I simply have to wait. So we'll do that. Took about maybe 2 to 3 minutes and now it is completely simulated. So I'm going to end my keyframes at 100. Now we can go ahead and project. So I'm going to pick about frame 94. I'm going to hit this guy and hit H to hide him. I'm going to hit this guy and hit A. Tilde key, go to the top, and now we're going to project. What we're going to do is hit tab, so all of these, we can see all of their faces. I'm going to hit U for unwrap and project from view. That's how you create that illusion. So if you go to UV editing, you could see all of your objects. I'm going to click one, hit A to select all the faces, and just hit S and scale it. I'm going to hit G to kind of move it. And that's how we're going to get this to work properly in the materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy. Let's go here to the cycles view just to make sure that we actually apply a material. Actually, we'll just go to material preview, click new, and maybe make it green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit A, Control L, click materials. Now they're all going to have that one material on them. We can go up here to the shading, right here, the shading tab. And what I'm going to do is first collapse these windows. We don't need them. Here in the Principled, I'm going to hit Control T with that Node Wrangler add-on so that we get all of this. I'm going to click Open, Desktop, and I'm going to find my Nike logo, which is right here. Now he looks weird, so we're going to do one more project. So I'm going to click this guy, hit A, Tab, U, Project from View, and then we need to go to the UV editing, and now it actually sees our image, so we can scale it up so that it properly maps. Go back to shading. It'll properly map. Now our Nike logo is revealing itself. I'm going to detach him, and we're going to make a material here. So I'm going to hit Shift A, Mix Shader. I'm going to take this Principled and hit Shift D, make it black, and plug into the other shader. And then I'm just going to hit G and move this up. Here we go. And then put this right here into the factor. So now we have that, or we can get an invert node and do that, which is I'm much more of a fan of this. So before we go forward, let's just go ahead and create our material, just make it look nice. So on this one, we're going to bring that roughness pretty high up. I really love the way that looks. And then maybe bring this to something right here so it's a little bit more viewable. And then on this Principled, we're just going to have a little bit of fun with some bump. Plug that there. Get a color ramp. Get a Voronoi texture. We'll just plug these guys into each other. Use distance. We're going to hit Control T and use object coordinates. Now what we can do is just kind of bring in this color ramp. Looks like the white portion to get these little dots. Bring up your scale. Maybe reveal the dots a little bit more. That's cool. So now we have these little dots on our objects, which looks really cool. It's almost like a pickleball. All right. Actually, we need to go back to shading. Keep missing it here. I just want to go ahead, hover over this guy, hit Control C. I'm going to go ahead and reveal that cube we made a minute ago. Get a new material, hover over here, hit Control V so that we get the same color, so it's not too distracting. Now what we can do is I'm going to hit the tilde key and go to the top, get a camera, Control Alt 0, snap that to view. So now we can kind of see. We can set up our camera. Let's go ahead and set up our animation. So it's going to be like that, but I don't actually want to see them drop. I actually want the animation to start maybe at frame 20 because I love the way it just kind of reveals itself. So we'll start at frame 20. So right over here on the start frame, you can specify 20. So now when we just go to render it, we don't have to trim any of the fat. We just set it up just like that. All right. Let's go ahead and light this and we will be done. So first thing I'm going to do, Shift A, and we're going to get a light and get a spotlight. These are so fun for creating some more kind of expressive types of lighting. I'm going to hit G and move it way over here. And then I'm going to hit R twice to point it right at my Nike logo. All right. And then we're going to go to the light, type in 10,000. Okay. And then bring that spot size down until it's kind of hitting this. And then bring that radius. And if you hear the people mowing outside, hopefully that's not too loud. And then maybe we'll do like 30,000 on the brightness, 40,000 on the brightness, and then maybe bring that spot size a little bit higher. So this is super cool. What I'm going to do now actually is change the color a little bit. So I'm just going to click on one of these, go to shading. Instead of black, I remember my original animation, we went with kind of your classic blue that you see from Nike quite a bit, at least in like 2012, something like that. So now that we have this kind of primary lighting, it looks really cool. I love the high contrast. It just kind of definitely looks like something Nike would do, especially nowadays. But I want to kind of fill out this. Notice if we bring my world brightness to black, it just kind of has this, and I want some type of more interesting lighting to fill that out a little bit. So what I did was I went over to Polyhaven and picked out an HDRI. Something like this. I use Autoshop quite a bit for these more just kind of industrial looking renders. So I'm going to go ahead and open that, but pick whatever HDRI you think would be appropriate. And I'm going to bring my strength to 0.2. And that's really going to kind of fill that out. So now if I render it, it's going to look really good. So here it is. It looks awesome. You could denoise it if you want. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Since we're here, we might as well. So I'm going to go right over here and click on denoising data. Go here to the compositor. I'm going to use nodes. I'm going to get a viewer node. Plug that there. And then I'm going to hold down shift and right click just to connect those. And we're going to get a denoise. Noisy normal, noisy albedo, and then we're going to re-render. All right, so here it is. It looks really nice, looks really awesome. Now you can definitely see that these spheres are kind of low poly a little bit. I would maybe bring them up one more subdivision for an official, say like client render. But for this demo for you guys, it works out. So let me just show you how to render this and we'll be done. I would keep it at a PNG sequence and then go ahead and create a folder for that, and then you'll just go ahead and render animation. But if you want Blender to just kind of compile an MP4 for you, go to FFmpeg video, again pick a file, on encoding do MP4, medium quality perceptually lossless render animation, and you'll have something really awesome by the end of it. This is cool. It's definitely useful in so many instances, but you know, knowing how to project one image across multiple objects is a really cool thing to do, to have more control over your scene. So there you guys go. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next tutorial.